you to know that. First of all, Johnny Saunders, thank you for always being there. That's the word we use, isn't it? There's no other word like it in the world. Over the years, you've always been there for me. Probably mad at me some of the time, but not much. In fact, as I look across this room, I see nothing but heroes, friends, people who have made my decision to come to West Virginia and be a VISTA volunteer and be a mountain person, the best decision I ever made. So I'm really honored to be with every single one of you. I had no idea. They said there were going to be 50 people here. Staff work is not always perfect. Now there's this guy named Sherrod Brown, who I'm seated next to. And there's a funny thing, Leo and Johnny. People ask you who you like best in the Senate. And I've always answered Carl Levin. Because Carl Levin is from Michigan, he's serious, cares about steel, runs the Armed Services Committee. His feet are on the ground, he's got a good sense of humor, and he never stops. He's a remarkable human being. He hasn't been in front of a television camera for a long time. He just doesn't care. He just does, he gets the work done so he can help people. I love that kind of person. Now along comes Senator Sherrod Brown. You're going to take Carl's place. And I really mean that. Because of who you are, you're so fearless. I'm mad at you because I came from 8 inches of snow and I land in your state, which I don't try to do a lot. And I can't find any snow anywhere. And so this is a smooth and wonderful trip. You mark my word, Sherrod Brown, we're really the same people. We think alike. We both have absolutely first-class senses of humor. We exercise on each other. He has a brother in West Virginia called Charlie, so I called him Charlie for a year and a half when he came to the Senate. And so he called me Nelson. I had an uncle called Nelson. But I got it straight. I mean, Sharon's just kind of a weird last first name, isn't it? Sharon. You think Sharon? So you got to stretch a little bit. And he is going to be president of the Steel Caucus for years and years and years. He's a man in motion constantly. We look at the same things in the same way. And when I leave office next year, if I leave office next year, depending upon who we re-elect, okay? I mean, I could just sit there, then she'd have to throw me out.
Yeah.
The future is good with Sharon. You know, and a lot of these successes that we talk about, all of us, without a Mark Galiptis, where are you, Mark? Right there. Mark's been through recently some tough times physically, but he's back and strong. And the first 2 or 3 years Mark was president of that union, he didn't like me. He just didn't. You've never explained to me why you didn't like me. But one of the things about the steel industry, you're in it for so long, in steel problems, you're involved for so long, that we came to understand each other. That we're both going for the same thing. And in fact, we had very similar ways of doing it. We were both a little quirky. And you're just one of my best friends. Mark Galiptis. Now, a guy who's not here is Jim Bowen, and his pictures, I understand, is in front of us. There are better looking people in this world, but he won't admit to that. There are better voices in this world, but he won't admit to that. But he's a fighter, and he's in Florida, and I love that man. I love that man. Wherever you are, Jim, I love you. And again, fighting all the time, side by side. That's what this is all about. For so many years, there's been so much bad news as well as good news, as Leo and Johnny have said in the steel industry. And we just finished a meeting, and we're not sure whether it was good news or bad news. But the point is that you have an objective, and that is to see the most steel workers working as possible, their families kept, their health benefits kept, their benefits kept. You fight for that, and sometimes you get it. And that's worth a fight. In my case, about 50 years. Then you got folks here from the W.Va, the CWA, AFL, each one of you, I thank.
Thank you.
And you're all part of the pattern, the great quilt of something called social justice. Fighting for social justice, something that politicians should do along with the labor leaders and community leaders when it's the right thing to do, which it is. So I thank you for being here. Today I took a little extra time in Weirton. I got here early, and I drove around a little bit. And my memory bank was wide open. For those years, 20, 30 years, 40 years ago. The same stores, the senior center that was built, the same meeting halls where we took the ESOP vote. A lot hasn't changed, and a lot has changed. And most of it has been for the worst. What I want to be sure of, and I'll fight for it until I die, that Weirton continues to exist. That's called Hancock and Crook County. Weirton steels and both. I love to drive those streets. I love the memories. They used to be crowded with people. Not so much now. Not so much now. These are memories that bind us together, that make us one. You can't just dip your toe into steel. You've got to be there for a long time. You've got to go through the losses. You've got to go through the embarrassments of where you didn't come up to where you should have, and you know it. And also the successes when you did come up to where you should have. I think about you all the time. I want you to understand that and accept that. And I think about our life story together. All the time. As Leo said, remember that Easter weekend when we had 30 years ago, we stood together refusing to quit negotiation to create a groundbreaking ESOP. I think Red Arango was head of it at that point. And Red didn't do a lot of explaining on it, but fortunately there were a lot of others who did. And it was a radical notion, and one, Leo Gerard, that I'm proud to say that my father, along with Frank Kelso, invented. And that was not typical of my father. He was not passionate on labor industry, but he was useful in this, very, very strongly in this case. And the worry was, what would the retirees do? And the bets were hedged, and people came into the hall, and they voted, and it turned out to be 13,000 for, 1,000 against. Am I right, Mark? Overwhelming. Largest ESOP in the country at that time, maybe still. And I think together I can honestly say that we extended the life of Weirton for at least a decade, maybe more. People went on boards, people got to talk to each other, problems got worked out. And then there's the Leo moment, the steps of the United States Capitol. We rallied to save Steve Jobs. Your voices were so loud. The man in the White House heard them. He had to have. There weren't as many lobbyists in Washington in those days. So the noise got through, right into the Oval Office. And what the president heard with passion, sadness, anger, but he heard one voice. You know, we've always been a ferocious team. We do not mess around. We'll step on people who get in our way, proudly, as we should. We've waged battles over unfair competition from cheap overseas steelmakers. Wait till you see what this guy does with that whole subject. He's all over it. And we're still waging a battle to demand a more level playing field. For the best workforce in the world, by God. So together we fought for tariffs on foreign steel after the illegal dumping caused by the Asian financial crisis. Whenever we get in trouble, you can always blame the Asian financial crisis because it sort of gets word in people's minds so they don't know how to respond. But in this case, it was true. And the relentless battle to protect TAA benefits and provide nearly $1 billion yearly in job training and financial assistance each year to workers harmed by unfair trade. In the newspapers, it's just a sentence. In a community like ours here, it saves lives, feeds children, prevents suicides, not always, but most of the time. There's no community like a steelworker community. I've been governor, I've been senator here, done some other things. There is no community that's built like a steelworker community. People will give up anything to help their neighbors and to protect jobs. Today we're continuing that fight to restore the health coverage tax credit portion of TAA. And it's so important. So many of you have been laid off, and so many of you have been laid off. I can remember when you could say that there were more steel workers than any other industry in West Virginia. You can't say that now. Sitting on the front porches of the very homes that I passed today, sharing Carlos pizza or dinner at DJ's. There was a DJ downtown, you know that. I know it moved elsewhere. But DJ's I'm referring to was there. And you could go in and get what you wanted. Bragging about our children and discussing the future that we're going to leave them if we're wise enough to do it. I'm an optimist. Sherrod Brown's an optimist. He walks around the Senate floor like he just wants to reach up and grab some good idea out of the air so he can make good on it. Because it'll help the people of Ohio, West Virginia, and the entire country. Sherrod, I remember once making a TV commercial for some election that I was in, and I really wanted to win, but I wasn't messing around. So I went to Weirton Steel, and they allowed a camera crew in. And I had this amazing conversation with a steelworker, guy in his mid-20s, late 20s. And I thought, how lucky am I? And how sad it is I can only play 1 minute or 30 seconds of it. Turns out the guy's from Ohio. And my campaign says, well, you can't run it. I said, like hell I can't run it. We go over there, they come over here. Up and down this part of the river, We're the same people. I won the election. But you know what? In conclusion here, steel communities are worth all of this fighting and angst and effort. They're worth it. This community is worth it. We have a lot going for us. Fantastic schools. You've always been, East 4 and the Northern Panhandle have always been our best academic schools anywhere in the state. Because you understand discipline, because education is something that people want and they know they have to have. Yeah, we'd like to have Wheeling Airport open, but we've got that little thing called Pittsburgh Airport not that far away. And that helps a lot. But most importantly, we have incredible people who think of Weirton as their home. Wherever they are, this is home. And you can't do anything if you don't have that kind of belief in a cause. So I thank you all for letting me be a part of your life, our lives together. And thank you for being such an enormous factor in mine. I'm never so happy as when I'm in the middle of a steelworkers brawl with somebody. It just brings out all the best things in me. I don't know what that was, but
Probably some Republican.
yeah.
There you go.
I just end by saying what I can't wait for is the stories of tomorrow. God bless you.